This Roblox player tapped on his bedroom window one night, and something on the other side tapped back. His room was on the second floor, and nothing outside that glass should have been able to reach it. He told himself it was the wind, and he went back to his game, and he tapped again. What that thing outside started tapping back over the next month is something you truly need to hear. Ben was 12 years old, and his bedroom sat at the back corner of an old two-story house. His window looked out over the backyard, a wide dark lawn, and one enormous old maple tree. That maple used to scratch the glass on windy nights, back when Ben was much younger. But his father had cut those branches back years ago, so nothing reached the window anymore. Between the glass and the nearest branch, there was now a wide gap of empty night air. Some nights the wind still pushed against the glass, and Ben knew exactly what that sounded like. He stayed up late in his room playing Roblox long after the rest of the house went quiet. His little brother Max, who was 7, slept in the room right next door to his. Their parents slept downstairs, and by midnight the whole house belonged to Ben and his screen. Ben had a small habit that he never really thought about, the way you never notice breathing. Whenever he was bored or thinking, he tapped things, like his desk, his pencil, or his chair. 3 little taps, tap tap tap, over and over, was the rhythm his fingers always fell into. Ben was not a fearful kid, and he had never once believed in ghosts or in monsters. He liked things he could explain, like game logic and math and rules that always made sense. That is exactly why the first tap did not scare him at all. It only made him curious. Because a curious mind is the easiest kind of mind for something patient to slowly pull in. So on the night it all began, he was not doing anything strange or unusual at all. He was just a bored 12-year-old, half in a game, tapping absently on the cold glass. He had no idea that he was about to start a conversation that he could not take back. On that first night, Ben was leaning back in his chair with his knuckles resting on the window. Without thinking, he tapped the glass 3 times. Tap, tap, tap. Exactly the way he always did. Then he froze, because 3 soft taps answered him back from the other side of the glass. Tap, 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 in the very same rhythm, coming from the empty air outside his second-floor window. Ben's whole body went still, and for a few long seconds, he did not breathe at all. He leaned toward the glass and stared out into the dark, but he saw absolutely nothing there. No branch, no bird, and no face. Just the black lawn and the maple standing far away. His heart was pounding, but the logical part of his brain quickly stepped in to calm him down. And here's a real fact that explains almost every strange tap you have ever heard at night. Old houses cool down after sunset, and as the wood and the pipes shrink, they pop and tap. Your house is quietly ticking all night long, and it just gets louder once everything else is silent. So Ben told himself the house had simply settled, and the timing was nothing but a coincidence. But a part of him needed to be sure, so he slowly lifted his hand and tested it. He tapped twice, slowly and clearly, and he waited with his ear held close to the cold glass. 2 taps answered him back, patient and exact, from somewhere just beyond the window frame. He tapped 5 times, fast, and 5 taps came back, matching his speed almost perfectly. A settling house does not answer questions, and it does not count, and it does not keep time. Ben backed away from the window, closed his curtains, and swore he would forget it by morning. He did not forget it by morning, and the next night, he could not stop thinking about it. And when he walked into his dark room the following night, the tapping had already started without him. Slow and steady taps were coming from the glass before he had even touched it that night. They stopped the moment he sat down, as if the thing outside knew that he had finally arrived. Over the next 2 weeks, Ben and the tapping fell into a routine that he could not explain. He would tap a rhythm, and it would answer, and each night the patterns grew longer and stranger. It copied fast rolls and long pauses and little skips, matching everything that his fingers could invent. He tried to record the tapping on his phone, but it always went silent whenever he pressed record. It only ever tapped when he was alone, unwatched, with no way in the world to prove it. And then, on the 9th or 10th night, the tapping did something that broke his simple explanation. It began tapping a rhythm first, before Ben had tapped anything, as if it were now leading him. It would tap out a pattern and then wait, and Ben would find his own hand answering it back. He was no longer the one starting the conversation, and that was the part that truly frightened him. Here is another true thing about your brain that makes moments like this feel so alive and personal. Your mind is a pattern machine, and it is built to find a someone hiding behind random noise. Scientists call it agency detection, and we evolved it because a false alarm is safer than a threat. Mistaking a stick for a snake costs you nothing, but mistaking a snake for a stick could kill you. Ben knew all of that, and he told it to himself again and again, night after night. But knowing the science did not explain how the taps had started answering before he even began. Then one night, his little brother Max knocked on the wall between their two bedrooms, sounding upset. Max mumbled through the wall, "Ben, stop tapping on my window. I am trying to go to sleep." Ben went cold, because he had not tapped anything, and Max's window was on the far side. Something had been tapping on a 7-year-old's window at the same time, in the same rhythm. And almost every old story on Earth has one clear warning about a thing that taps in the dark. Do not answer it. Do not invite it. And never, ever open the window to see what waits. Ben had been answering it every single night for 2 weeks, without once understanding the game. That night, lying in the dark, he made a promise to himself that he would stop completely. But the thing outside had learned his rhythm, and it was not finished with him just yet. Because a few nights later, the taps spelled out something slow and deliberate that he instantly recognized. It was not a random rhythm anymore. It was the sound of his own name, tapped against the glass. Hearing your own name tap slowly onto your window from the darkness is a feeling you never forget. Ben finally did the thing he should have done on that very first night 2 weeks earlier. He stopped answering it, and the next morning he went straight downstairs and told his parents everything. His father listened, and then his father did the calm and reasonable thing that most parents do. He walked the backyard in daylight, looking for a branch, a wire, or an animal near the window. He blamed the wind and the old house, and he trimmed the maple back even further that weekend. And for one single peaceful night, the tapping stopped, and Ben let himself believe it was finally over. Here is something worth remembering, whether the thing at your window is imaginary or completely and terribly real. You never open a window or a door to something that taps or knocks at you in the night. Real people who mean harm will sometimes tap a window just to learn whether anyone is awake inside. So the rule is always the same, and it is a good one. You get an adult and turn on lights. Ben and his family did everything right, and still, on the second night, the soft tapping returned. It knew his rhythm, it knew his name, and no amount of yard work had made it go away. Ben started sleeping with his lamp on and his curtains taped shut against the cold, dark glass. He thought that as long as he never looked and never answered, he was safe inside his room. And then came the night that took the tapping from frightening to something he could barely survive. Because that night, the 3 familiar taps did not come from the window outside at all. They came from the wall right beside his bed, on the inside, tapping softly out of the plaster. Ben did not scream, and he did not tap back, and he did not put his hand on that wall. He got out of his bed, he walked out of his room, and he woke his parents downstairs. And here is the part of this whole story that I really need every single one of you to hear. It does not matter whether it was a cooling house, a clever animal, or a mind hunting for patterns. It does not even matter if it was something that folklore has feared quietly for 1,000 years. Every single one of those answers ends with the exact same simple rule that kept Ben safe that night. When something taps from the dark, you do not answer it, and you go and find a real person. The tapping had no power at all until the night Ben first decided to tap his answer back. Every reply he gave it was a door, and for 2 weeks he had been holding that door open. The thing that scared him most in the end was not the tapping itself, night after night. It was how badly it wanted him to answer, and how patient it was willing to be. Fear grows stronger every time you feed it a response, and it starves the moment that you stop. The moment you stop answering the thing in the dark, you take every bit of its power away. Ben's parents moved him into the spare room downstairs, far away from that dark backyard window. They had the whole house checked, and the wind and the old pipes took most of the blame. After Ben stopped answering it, the tapping slowly faded, and week by week, the nights grew quiet again. He started to sleep normally, and he let himself believe that the whole thing was finally behind him. Then one still night, months later, 3 soft taps landed on the window of his new downstairs room. Tap, tap, tap. Patient and familiar, in the exact rhythm his own fingers had always loved to make. For one long moment, the old urge to lift his hand and tap back rose up inside him. But Ben did not tap back, and he did not open the curtain, and he did not say a word. He simply got up, walked down the hall, and slept on the floor of his parents' room. The next morning at breakfast, his little brother Max looked at him with tired and confused eyes. Max quietly asked, "Ben, why were you tapping on my window again from outside last night?" And Ben finally understood the one thing that every scary story had always been trying to teach him. Some things knock because they want you to open the door. And the answer is simply always no. Have you ever heard something tap or knock at your window at night when you were all alone? Tell me exactly what you did down in the comments below, because I really do want to know. If you watched all the way to the end, then you already know never to tap that answer back. Subscribe so you never miss another story that keeps you and the people you love a little safer. Take care of each other out there, and I will see you again in the very next one.